Hitting a building, waiting for first responders and media to arrive, and hitting the same place again to target those who came to put out the fire, help the victims, or document a potential war crime. This cruel military tactic is called a double-tap attack. Russia has been terrorizing Ukraine with double-tap attacks since the start of the full-scale invasion. But those attacks have become increasingly frequent in recent weeks. Zaporizhia, Kharkiv, Odessa, and other Ukrainian cities have come under Russian double-tap strikes this spring. These attacks have killed dozens of people. But what is their actual purpose? Why have they increased? And what can Ukrainians do to protect against them? This is Dinara Khalilova, a news editor at the Kyiv Independent, and I will answer these questions for you. In one of the latest double-tap attacks against Ukraine, Russia launched 5 missiles at Zaporizhia. This is not uncommon for the city located not far from the front lines. What was unusual, though, is that missiles were fired on the same location with an almost 2-hour gap. The attack killed 4 people and injured 31, including a police officer and 2 journalists who were working on the scene.
Насправді я себе почуваюся добре, але, як мені кажуть мої знайомі, що завтра мене наздожене те, що сьогодні мало б бути. Під час того, як ми працювали, ми просто ходили, знімали наслідки ворожих влучань, потрощені вікна. І тут росіяни гатили знову, і це, я вам не передам словами, як це було, бо ти чуєш свист, ти чуєш гуркіт, і воно просто десь вибухає. Ми одразу побігли з місця, там надали мені першу допомогу поліцейські. Згодом ми дізналися вже прямо там на місці, що поранення дістала моя колега.
Over 40 buildings were reportedly damaged, among which was an industrial facility that could have been where Russia had aimed. Firing multiple munitions at a target is pretty common because it increases the chances of destroying it. However, if there is a delay between the first strike and the follow-on strikes, the goal may be to kill people who arrive at the scene. These are usually rescuers, medics, police officers, and journalists. If Russia's goal was to ensure it had destroyed a target, the strikes would likely occur with a shorter gap.
Що стосується цієї атаки, то він застосував удари у фактично декілька хвиль, і можна зробити висновок, що його метою були саме наші цивільні підрозділи ДСНС і Національної поліції, які прибули на місце для ліквідації наслідків.
A double-tap attack amounts to a war crime if proven that it was deliberately targeting civilians, including first responders, humanitarian workers, and journalists, which is prohibited by the Geneva Convention. It's not clear how many Ukrainian first responders have been killed or injured specifically in double-tap attacks. But since the beginning of Russia's full-scale invasion, a total of 91 first responders have been killed, and another 351 have been wounded. Ukraine is not the first country suffering from Russian double-tap strikes. Moscow employed this tactic extensively in Syria, together with Bashar al-Assad's government forces. According to Syria's Justice and Accountability Center, 58 double-tap airstrikes took place in Syria between 2013 and 2021. Primarily targeting humanitarian workers. The White Helmets volunteer organization, which rescued civilians from under the rubble of destroyed buildings, says it lost over 300 volunteers during the war in Syria, with most fallen victim to double-tap attacks. When the full-scale invasion of Ukraine started in 2022, Russia almost stopped using double-tap attacks in Syria and employed this brutal tactic in Ukraine. The increase in double-tap attacks comes at a very uncertain time for Ukraine. In recent months, Ukrainian forces have faced an increasingly grim situation on the battlefield, struggling to maintain their positions amid delays in Western military aid. Kyiv prepares to ramp up mobilization, which is not particularly popular among the general public. And after 2 years of a full-scale war, Ukrainians are simply exhausted from living under constant attacks and amid tragic news. So it looks like Russia may be using double-tap attacks now as a powerful tool of psychological warfare to lower the morale of Ukrainians even further. This spring, Russia also launched a large-scale campaign against Ukraine's energy system, which, as Ukrainian officials say, is even more devastating and effective than similar attacks in the previous heating season. In the case of double-tap strikes against energy facilities, Russia may be trying to degrade Ukraine's ability to repair its infrastructure. The intensified double-tap attacks may also be part of Moscow retaliation for recent Ukrainian drone strikes on oil refineries and industrial facilities inside Russia. Russian President Vladimir Putin recently claimed that the recent campaign against Ukraine's energy system is a response to the strikes on Russian soil. Putin, of course, conveniently didn't mention that Russia had launched similar attacks long before Ukraine even started striking at the Russian territory. As with any other attack, protecting against double-tap strikes requires air defense equipment. Ukraine's supplies of air defense munitions are running out. At the same time, there are not enough Patriot systems that are capable of shooting down ballistic missiles to cover even Ukraine's largest cities.
I will give you one example, a very simple example. The Tropilska power plant. Electricity in the Kyiv region depends on it. 11 missiles were headed towards it. The first 7 we took down. 4 destroyed Tropilska. Why? Because we had 0 missiles. We ran out of all missiles.
After Kyiv ramped up its calls on allies to send more Patriots, Germany said it would deliver another system to Ukraine and ask partners to supply 6 more.
We have the 2 Patriots that we delivered, the IRIS-T systems, the tanks that we delivered, and we're making another system available now. These systems are needed, so people should, other countries should see if they can donate one, although they might not do so in different times.
While Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte said that the Netherlands was ready to buy Patriots for Ukraine from more hesitant allies. While Ukraine is waiting for air defense assistance from the West, the country's emergency service is revising its safety protocols to protect its personnel. The State Emergency Service said that they will provide rescuers with more advanced body armor, improve the system of security alerts, and increase automation of rescue processes. However, rescuers can't afford to arrive at the scene of an attack only when the danger has passed. Air-raid alerts can continue for hours, and people stuck under the rubble or trapped in fire need help immediately. For more reporting on Russia's military tactics in Ukraine, make sure to subscribe to the Kyiv Independent's YouTube channel.